It's Football United time again, which means Maurya and I get to be reunited with Darren Caldeira and Paul Masefield. And as always, we have plenty to talk about because it is the January transfer window, which is well and truly still open. So, Mace, what's been the most exciting thing in this window so far for you? And what is the excitement that's lined up, do you think?
I think there's a lot more coming. I really do. I think Vineeth's move to Mumbai City was an interesting one. Didn't see that one coming. I've got to be completely honest with that. Obviously, Sandesh returning from overseas, that's an intriguing move as well, and that should help. And I think it tells you a little bit about what ATK Mohan ambitions are this season.
I think for me, the biggest thing in the January transfer window is going to be John Gregory joining Football United live and Football United hopefully as well. Right, Maurya?
Absolutely. That's a huge signing made by us in the January transfer window. Anant, so much lined up on the show. What do we have?
Let's find out. The January transfer window is here and Sandesh Jhingan returns to ATK Mohun. Winless in 4, what is going wrong for Mumbai City FC? Hyderabad FC reached the top of the table for the first time. What is their recipe of success? How important do you think, Darren, he will be for them? However sad his European adventure turned out to be, obviously not going to plan.
Massive signing for ATK Mohun. I think that's, if you had to strengthen that ATK Mohun side, I think that's one position you'd want to get somebody in, and nobody better than Sandesh Jhingan right now. We've seen him before for ATK Mohun. He's just been a massive player. They've actually kind of missed him. You could see in the team, and Ferrando likes to play a back four. That's where Sandesh Jhingan would be vital to that team. I'm a little bit disappointed though that it didn't work out for him in the league there. Bit of injuries. He wasn't fully fit. Was part of the squad, a couple of games, had to go back out through injury. It would have been nice to see him get some game time, but he's here. That's good to see, and I just hope he recovers from that injury as soon as possible and is back on the field.
Mace, this could actually, amongst all the big name signings like Bumu and Kauko, this could actually turn out to be a game changer for ATK Mohun because they seriously seem to have missed this guy because they're not keeping clean sheets.
Oh, correct. I wouldn't disagree with that at all, Mojo. I think it is an important signing for them. I think that the statement's been made that they want instant success. They want that title. They want the trophy because they've got a couple of good youngsters, in the likes of Sumit Ratty, we haven't seen much of. And again, Gill, who could slot in there as well, but needs must. And if you've got to stop and not give those kids the opportunity, then you've got to go and get the experience. I've got to take my hat off to Sandesh. I think he's done ever so well, and he was brave going overseas because the Croatia League, that ain't a bad league. You're talking about the team that, is one of the best in the world, the national team. So to try and go and compete at that level and to try and get a starting berth, it's always going to be difficult. Yes, the injuries haven't helped, but him coming back with an injury, my only concern is how long is he going to be injured for? Because ATK Mohun need that fix now. They need to be able to get him into that starting lineup as quickly as possible to make sure they can shore things up. We know that Pritam will move to the right-hand side, Thierry's in there as well. It just gives them that balance, that experience, and that little bit of extra defensive solidity to go on and keep those clean sheets.
I think the one good thing is that once he picked up that knee injury and then he came and played for ATK Mohun, he showed exactly what he's all about because he probably had one of his best Hero ISL seasons coming back from injury. So at least that is taken care of. That the mentality and that the champion mindset that he has will always be.
And the good thing is Sandesh was part of this team, so it's not like he'll have to move into a new team, gel with the players. So he has been there and done that. And talking of moving also, Vineeth Rai's moved to Mumbai. Mace, what did you make of that?
Very, very interesting. Again, the rumour mills that roll on and around, and reportedly Mumbai weren't the only team that were interested in.
Bandovic has apparently come out and said that he was looking at him.
I think it'll be a good move because Vineeth's a player. He is a player. He can get on the ball. And again, you turn around and look at Mumbai options. What have they had in the middle of the park? Borges has been out injured for the whole of the season. Looks as though he's going to be a long-term casualty as well. So they do need somebody else that can slot in there. It could give them a different option in the middle of the park. They've had Apuya, they've had Jahu. Jahu obviously going to be suspended because he's picking up all these yellow cards. So Vineeth can slot straight in there and start playing. So for me, it makes sense because he can get the ball down and play. But what I want to know is, Odisha, he's the club captain and he's the captain of the team there. That very, very rarely happens that a club captain will be allowed to leave on loan in the middle of a season. So obviously Kiko didn't like him. This offer's come along, the chance has come along. Vineeth wants to play, which is why he's made the move. So he'll be looking to push Apuya to get a starting berth in that Mumbai City team.
I think that's what the coach alluded to as well. Des Buckingham, after that draw against SC East Bengal, he said that Vineeth coming in gives us options to move Apuya further forwards. But is that how you look at it, Darren, or do you just look at him as a squad player in case there's any injury, or in Jahu's case, a suspension as well?
Yeah, Apuya and Jahu are always going to be your first choice there in the center of midfield. And we heard that Rowden probably has been nursing an injury for a while, wasn't fully fit, and now you've got Vineeth Rai coming. So he's a good player to have in the team. You know that if you require him to start a game, he's always going to be there. Now, like we know, Jahu is going to be missing. He's probably going to start in the center of midfield. He's somebody with a lot of experience. But again, it's a very strange move for me from Odisha's perspective. Like Mace mentioned, a club captain. How often have we heard of a club captain being loaned out, in the middle of the season? That's just rare. That really never happened.
Sorry, I remember Preetham Kotal moving from Delhi. He was the club captain for Delhi Dynamos, and then he moved to the then ATK, and then played half the season with them. But yeah, you're right. I think
it's a permanent move. You can look at a permanent move. It's fine. You get a great offer. You take the money and you sell a player. That is understandable. But sending out a loan is the one that is slightly tricky.
Also, because it's not like they have a lot of options in center midfield. It's not like they have a lot of players there, a lot of experience. They're actually struggling in that position. If you look at Odisha FC at the moment, they don't.
The spine.
We're talking about the spine, exactly. They don't have that in the middle of the park. I read a tweet. I think it was from Rohan Sharma, mentioning that they've got Paul and Thoiba there. Yes, they're good players, but I don't think they have the experience there in the middle of the park to start every single game, to come up against the likes of, say, an Apuya or Jahu. I don't think they have that at the moment. Again, a very strange decision for me. But yeah, good for Mumbai City FC. They've got another solid player who plays with, who's got experience and who can play the style of football that Mumbai City want to play.
Speaking of Mumbai City FC, Mace, what's going wrong for them? I know that there have been a few penalty appeals that were turned down in the game against SC East Bengal. And Des obviously felt hard done by. Fair enough, but they're obviously a side better than a one that relies on penalties and set pieces only, right? They showed us in the first half of the season.
Yeah, you can't use that as an excuse. Yes, you can mention it, but that's not an excuse. I think the thing for me is, I think we spoke about it on the show, but particularly at half time. What's the plan B? Right? Because you've got to turn around and you look 4-2-3-1. We know how they play. That first half against Odisha, that's the best I've seen a team play 45 minutes in quite a while here in the eISL. But the second half, it just didn't turn on. So whether it's complacency, whether there's an issue there with a half-time team, talk about what they're trying to do, how they're trying to do it. You have to react to situations when they're not going right. And I don't think that they can change it. He changes the personnel, but he still plays like a 4-2-3-1. But they're still trying to play that similar style of football. Sometimes you have to mix it up. Sometimes you've got to play dirty football. You've got to play horrible football. You've got to play football to get results. Look at Habas last season, for example, grinding out results. You can't just keep, and you've got to have a philosophy, don't get me wrong. You have to have that as a backing. But if it doesn't go right, you've got to tweak something during a game to make a change, make something happen. And if you can make that happen and it sparks, you can go back to what gets you and what got you there initially. So I think that's their little issue at the moment. They need to look at how they can chop and change, because teams have started to figure them out and work them out early on in this season.
Darren, it's that Kerala game in a sense that's a watershed, right? Because since then, they have not really won. And teams seem to have worked them out. But would you say defensive concerns are the big one for them? Because they are conceding goals. Earlier also, they would concede a goal here or there. But now the defensive goals suddenly seem much more bigger and of a bigger concern.
Definitely, defensively, they're conceding goals, but I think they have a problem going up front as well. It's okay if they're conceding goals. They can outscore their opponent, fair enough. But now they have a problem is teams have figured out a way to stop them. Either they are getting all men behind the ball, or you have players pressing Apuya and Jahu, which is kind of the outlet for Mumbai City FC. I think there's a lot of responsibility now on Cassio Gabriel. I thought he was their best player last night, but got substituted in the second half, which I thought was a very strange one.
Yeah.
They seem clueless. I think that's the word. Because
that's a big word.
Yeah, they were frustrated. You could see they were very, very frustrated because they felt a couple of decisions weren't going their way. When Jahu and Apuya weren't getting the ball enough, they didn't seem like they had a plan B. That's the main thing there. You could see Angula was trying to drop in, get the ball. Bipin and Rainy at times, I felt like weren't offering enough. So it seemed like they didn't have any sort of plan if the likes of Apuya and Jahu were marked. So they need to figure out a way, because teams now know how to play against them. They're just going to sit back and defend well. They're going to press maybe Murtada fall. They're going to press Jahu and Apuya. And if that's going to happen every single game, Mumbai City FC need a way to figure out a way to start beating their opponents.
But before we move on, a quick word on FC East Bengal. Renedy Singh seems to have got the fight back in that team, Mace.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's great to see, right? And he's
listen, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It was exactly what the club needed. And I'm actually a little bit disappointed for Renedy that he wasn't given the job until the end of the season. I really am, because, I mean, the enthusiasm's there. He's kicking every ball with the players, he's instructing them, he's up and down and he's bouncing around. And that is infectious on your team. You turn around and you look at the last manager, and I mean, it's like watching Darren now. Just you know, I mean, it's just no, but you know what I mean. There was just no animation. There was no communication. There was absolutely zero. And now all of a sudden they've gone from 0 to 100 with Renedy coming in, and it's given everybody a buzz. And it really, really has. He's got them on the training ground working. They're working at the correct times as well. They're putting the effort in, and they're doing it for him. And let's not forget, he's having to do it with less foreign players as well because of the injuries.
And one foreign player for that Mumbai game.
Correct. And Chukwu is obviously leaving because of family reasons after that game as well. Just by the way, I thought he was magnificent. He really, really worked his socks off in that last game. Who's he got? Who's he got now to be able to put in? So SC East Bengal, that's why I said with the transfer window, that will start rolling in, and I'm sure Renedy will have a hand in who comes into the club to help enhance them and try and push them further up the table.
In a sense, it's been a season where we've gotten to know what Indian head coaches in full-time capacities can do, right, Darren? Because we got a glimpse of it last season with Khalid and then Naushad Musa. But this season, it almost begs the question: would you want to give Renedy the job full-time? I know Mario Rivera has already been appointed, but would you be tempted if it hadn't been done yet?
That's a no-brainer for me. You have to give him the job, because like we mentioned on the show, last time as well, Renedy Singh has played at the club, is now managing the club. He knows the expectations of a club like SC East Bengal. He knows how massive it is, knows the players really well. He's probably even played with a couple of them, a couple of the senior players there. And you can see they are a happier bunch now. Most important, if you want a team to do well, you need to have a happy bunch. They are looking like a happier bunch. He's so animated on the touchline. Mace will agree with me. When you're a player on the field and you have your coach constantly giving out instructions, pushing the team forward, that always translates onto the players. You could see, it gives that added boost, and that's what they needed. They needed that. You could see, I keep mentioning this again, from their warm-ups. We've done a lot of SC East Bengal games, and you could see their warm-ups previously. They just seemed flat. There was no energy in those warm-ups, and you look at them now. Constantly you can have players like Adil's talking. You have Arindam talking. Last night, Ankit Mukherjee coming on as a centre back, and he was, speaking like one of those captains in the team. He was constantly giving out instructions to everybody, and that's what you want to see. And that's what Renedy Singh has got into the club. Like Nis mentioned, I'm disappointed that he's not got the job full time, but I wouldn't be surprised going forward. We'll see him probably taking the club, managing the club, and you'll have more Indian coaches getting opportunities in the Hero ISL.
Like Thangboy Singh for Hyderabad FC, who's also given us a glimpse last season, and there are plenty of young Indian players there, which begs the question: what are Hyderabad FC doing right under Manolo Marquez? I mean, it's been an incredible rise, which has seen them go top of the points table as well in the first half of the season for the first time in their history. They become the neutrals' favourite, some would say, promoting the young players. I think on average they had the second youngest Indian starting out in their 11 after Odisha. If you remove Katimani, they're probably the youngest as well. Who knows? But I mean, what is the reason? What is the secret sauce, Paul Masefield?
He's got the right mixture of youth. He's got the right mixture of senior pros, and he's got the right mixture of foreign players as well. He's brought in Bart, which gives you so much experience. He's got Zhao in the middle of the park. He's got Wanant at the back. The spine of that team, the average age of that might be about 33 and a half or whatever. But then you start putting in some very, very talented kids in and around that have the legs, that can do the running, that are clever, they're not daft, that they understand the game. So that tells me Manolo is out on the training pitch and he's working with them. They understand what he wants. You've then got the senior players that are developing and bringing them on and helping them on the pitch. We've all spoken to Bart separately, and he says one of his biggest roles isn't on the pitch, it's off the pitch talking to the players because they're always asking him questions. They all want to learn, they all want to understand.
Darren, but Mace touched upon it, the impact of Bart Ogbeche, right? Because this man scores every club he goes to, whatever the system, whatever the coach, and what a player to have. He's 37 and still scoring goals.
Yeah, he's just aging like fine wine, Big Bart. He's doing absolutely brilliant, the guy. You know, I was fortunate to play alongside Bart, and the guy is such a professional. You know, a lot of us, especially the viewers, you watch games and you look at Bart scoring goals and you're like, wow, you know, this guy's gifted and things like that. People don't see the amount of work that he does off the pitch. You know, every single day he's doing his stretches, his foam rollings. After training, he's doing his massages, his ice baths and things like that. You know, it's great because he's such a professional. Sometimes it's a bit annoying for his teammates because he's the last one on the team bus and is making everyone wait. But you know, you have to give him credit. He puts in so much of work, but off the field, he's constantly, like Mace mentioned, he's speaking to the younger players. You know, he's always been that sort of a player. I remember at Kerala Blasters as well. He was kind of the middleman between, you know, the Indian players and the coach. A lot of players would go up to him to have a chat with him, and he was the one who would take that forward to the coach. So he's that kind of player, you know, in the dressing room. And talking about his form, the guy is just scoring. You know, it's a surprise when he doesn't score a goal.
I can't believe, Darren, that the first person you've hammered this season is Bart Ogbeche. Keeping you waiting.
I did hammer Hearts once during the Jamshedpur game, and I thought his defending was off mark there. But yeah,
it's the youngsters, right, that make them the neutrals' favorite, and they're good on the eye also.
Absolutely. I think they've started with 9 under 23 players this season so far. I mean, Hitesh and Aaron De Silva have now become 24, but you'll still count them because they were 23 when they started the season. And that's the balance that Mace is talking about. But they needed somebody to step into Aridane Santana's shoes. And if you get somebody like Ogbeche, who scored, 12 for Northeast, we thought, could he do it again? He went on to score 15 for Kerala. You thought, could he do it again? He had a really poor season, right? With Mumbai, he only scored 8 goals. And now he might just go ahead of Koro before Chetri could do that. So with Bart, I think they found that final piece in the puzzle. Time for a short breather on Football United. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to Football United. We got the company of Paul Masefield, Darren Caldeira and Maurya Mondal. Before the break, we talked about all things Indian football. Now we switch our attention to the eISL that started earlier this season, and we caught up with the eISL commentator, Azeem Banatwalla, and this is what he had to say. All right, we're now joined by eISL commentator Azeem Banatwalla. First up, the inaugural edition of the eISL that's been underway since the 20th of November, and 11 Hero ISL teams have been taking part in it in their eISL avatar. So Azeem, without further ado, how's the eISL been for you, and how much have you enjoyed commentating on it?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. I think it's a great initiative because esports has got so big in the last year and a half, and the fact that we've got so many people now over the last year and a half in the pandemic sitting at home playing video games. So it's absolutely great and been a fantastic experience for me. I've grown up playing FIFA all my life, and to be a commentator was one of my dreams, and to be a gaming commentator is just like the best job in the world.
Obviously, you're the best equipped to tell us a bit about the format and how many matches are there, how the winners will be decided, please, Azeem.
Yeah, I mean, it is in a sense pretty similar to the actual Hero ISL because we have the same 11 teams. They go and play each other twice each in the group stages. And then the top 4 make it to the playoffs, and then we have the winners decided. Of course, it doesn't end there because each team has 2 players. To make it more interesting, we have one co-op match where it's 2 versus 2, which gets a little chaotic, gets a little hectic. And what's interesting is that the 2 teammates who've been best of friends, they're obviously all in a bubble. They're staying together, sharing rooms together, all of that. Right at the end, the 2 winning team members basically have to go up against each other because only one person can represent India at the FIFA Global Series. So there's plenty at stake, and also a huge prize pool for these guys to play for. It's I believe it's about close to 78 lakhs, which is huge for esports in India.
Wow. Now, which club teams do you think are the current front runners, and do the teams who are not doing so well have a chance of making a comeback?
It's very interesting because the table of the eISL is almost diametrically opposite to what's going on in the Hero ISL right now, because on top we've got SC East Bengal, Northeast United and FC Goa. And you've got Jamshedpur FC in the mix as well over there. It's a very, very tight table going in for the top. For the top four, we have 7 or 8 teams that are still very much in contention to make the top 4.
Let's just talk about some of the big players that are picked by the eISL players. I mean, Ronaldo or Messi, who are the most popular players that are picked, according to you?
It's actually quite interesting because the way the game mode works, it's called a FUT, FUT, for FIFA Ultimate Team. So you have a wide array of players to choose from, not just current players, but also like the all-time greats that you can choose from. So, of course, most of the teams have your phenomenal Ronaldo 9, you have your Cristiano Ronaldos, you have Pele, you have Eusebio, you have Ruud Gullit in there, you've got Paolo Maldini in there, you've got Edwin van der Sar and Peter Schmeichel as the goalkeeper. So it's the absolute best of the best. You've got Maradonas, Ronaldinhos, Neymars, you name it. So most of the people have found that balance in the team that they like. I think it also differs based on what kind of style the player has. If people want really fast counter attack, they're going to go with like Mbappe up top. If people want to be more technical, play narrow, they'll have a Lothar Matthäus in midfield as well. So of course, yes, it is a video game, but there is a huge amount of football tactics that goes into it. And of course, there is some amount of just knowing what the game does and how to sort of exploit your knowledge of the game itself rather than football to be successful.
Now, you spoke of some world-class goals earlier. Now, we've seen some world-class goals in the ISL as well. I mean, Greg Stewart comes to mind. Adrian Luna, of course, scored one. Liston Colasso has been making all the waves as far as Indian players are concerned. If you were to pick 1 or 2 of the world-class goals that have been scored in the eISL, could you just, as a commentator, give us a description of 1 or 2 of them, perhaps?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think all the crazy goals have been scored, as mentioned by Ankit Gupta. We've seen him do the absolutely most bizarre things. We've seen him chip the goalkeeper from the edge of the area. We've seen him take shots into the top corner off the weaker foot from Ronaldo from 30 yards out. So he's clearly got a handle on how the long range shooting works.
What's the level of competition been like since you watched it from close quarters? I mean, these are some of the best FIFA players going around, right? So if you were to describe it in a sentence or a couple of sentences, perhaps, what's the level of competition been like?
In one sentence to describe it, I couldn't do it. I've been playing the game for like 23 years now, and there is no way I could reach the level of these guys. These are truly the best 22 players that we have in India, and all of them, the skill level, the skill rating that they have is phenomenal. The kind of stuff they can do with that controller, the reflexes that's required, the sheer amount of practice and the game knowledge that goes into it is astounding.
Final word to all the fans who are tuning into the eISL and who you're looking at in terms of your potential audience for the eISL, for those who may not know about it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, if you have any interest, obviously you have an interest in football if you're watching this, but if you've ever played FIFA video games at any point in your life, which I'm sure a lot of us have the consoles lying around, we play with our friends and all. These guys are the absolute best. I think it's great for people who are interested in the game or interested in football. You want to come and support your clubs. That's an incentive to come and watch it. And of course, you want to watch the best in the business and learn a few tips for yourself and improve your own game. I think that's a great incentive to watch. So yeah, the eISL is the first time it's happening, and I'm sure we'll have more seasons to come.
And long may it continue, Azeem, and you go along with it. Thank you so much for your time on Football United.
My pleasure.
But that was Azeem Banatwalla, but Darren, Mace, Maurya, thanks as always.
But before going, Mace, you any good at FIFA? Can you play?
No, that's not for me. I play Donkey Kong. I play all the old games and Space Invaders. I'm no good at this new stuff, but I have been watching, and I do know that Go are at the top of the table. So there you go.
No, I'm horrible. I'm horrible at it, but I did see Messi score for East Bengal, so yeah.
But that's all we have on Football United. We'll see you next week.